W.
Welcome back to Cohort W, the podcast where we explore the evolution of the Warrant Officer cohort, its history, its future, and most importantly, the leaders who are shaping its next chapter. I'm your host, Chief Warrant Officer 4, Jessie Morlan, and this season we're zeroing in on a vital topic, the modernization of Warrant Officer Professional Military Education, or PME, to meet the demands of a future fight that is faster, more complex, and more dynamic than anything we've faced before. Today's guest brings a story that's a powerful example of growth, service, and leadership at every echelon of the Army. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Charmaine Hilliard, began her journey in Jasper, Texas, enlisting in the United States Army in 1999. Over her distinguished career, she rose through the ranks as a human resources professional, transitioned into the Warrant Officer cohort in 2006, and deployed 4 times in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, New Dawn, and Freedom's Sentinel. Along the way, she served as an instructor at the Adjutant General School, helped shape policy as a personnel policy integrator, led critical strength management missions at Fort Carson and Joint Base San Antonio, and served overseas in Afghanistan and across Europe. Today, she serves at the highest levels of Army leadership as the Assistant Executive Officer and Principal Administrative Advisor to the Chief of Staff of the Army, overseeing operations, coordinating across senior leaders, managing daily priorities, and mentoring the next generation of leaders. Her story is one of excellence, resilience, and relentless commitment to the profession of arms and to the Warrant Officer cohort. Chief Hilliard, greetings, ma'am, and welcome to Cohort W. It's an absolute honor to have you on today's episode. How are things at the Pentagon?
Oh, thank you for having me. This is definitely an honor for us, or me personally, for you to invite me on your podcast. Things in the Pentagon are the Pentagon. It's always busy. Everything's always happening. And all we do is remain consistent when it comes to our leadership.
Well, let's dive in and start tracing the powerful story that's brought you here. Let's rewind a little. When you first raised your right hand in 1999, what did professional development look like through your eyes? And was there a leader or a moment earlier in your career that helped you realize the value of investing in your own growth?
Oh, man, 1999, you're telling my age there a little bit, you know. But absolutely. In high school and college, I played sports, so I was no stranger to, having a strong work ethic, from family into playing sports in high school and college. So crossing over into the military, it was not a big leap for me. It's something I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to serve. And as far as professional development goes, my degree's in business administration. So it was kind of just a natural progression to be developed and stick to administration and so forth and so on. So the very first person I can think that helped me throughout my career outside and inside the Army would probably just be my mother. Let's just be honest, having a strong work ethic, guiding me to say I can do whatever I needed to do, and, have a foundation and a purpose that will help me when I do leave home. And I think it stuck with me. And inside the military, the first person that helped me with my growth and my professional development is now retired General Farrell. He embraced this young wobbly one to what it's like to be an officer, and more so a soldier, being a good teammate. So it just had the right leaders, even from just my first interaction with, people, sports is probably where it really originated at home.
Let's fast forward to 2006, your transition into the Warrant Officer cohort and your experience at the AG Warrant Officer Basic course. Looking back, what parts of that PME experience truly laid the foundation for the leader you are today, and what elements still influence your approach even now?
Oh, man. Again, you're telling my age here. A long time ago. For the basic course, for me, it started out with researchability. And I think it was, we were getting into, the OIFs and OEFs, and the instructor that I had harped on being the SME, the subject matter expert. Know where to find it. If you don't know the answer, then know where to find it. So my researchability, I had my little highlighter, and I was, hinging on every word because, his famous words that he would say is sometimes it's just you in that organization. And because you're a warrant officer, they expect you to know. That stuck with me has been sticking with me throughout my career. Even if I don't know the answer, how do I get to the answer, and how do I get to yes? So for me, basic course laid the foundation on how to research, how to interact with people, and to have the right people that you can go to help you get to yes.
So your operational record is incredible. Nearly 40 months deployed across multiple campaigns. During those deployments, were there PME lessons or leadership concepts that you found especially valuable? And was there a particular real-world moment where you thought, I'm glad I learned that?
Yes, and I think it is every officer and warrant officer, and I would say even the NCO Corps that regrets MD and P. That model itself is cumbersome because there's so many steps. You got course action development, all these things that, a warrant, like, hey, I'm a warrant officer. I don't do that. But because my OIC was pregnant, and somebody had to step up. The lieutenant was brand new, and the boss said, you're it. So, going to NTC, establishing products, and all this stuff. And the only thing I can say is I am so glad that I learned this in school, and to help others with it, and then understand my role when it came to, of course, with sustainment, me being AG, and where does I fit into that? Who is in charge of that particular part of that annex, i.e. the S4? Didn't know that at first. If I wouldn't have had went to school and learned that concept of MDMP. So for me, it was MDMP, and because we were part of the surge, it was coming quick, fast, and hurry. So yes was a definite thing. They didn't have time for no or let's wait. So being able to create products and do courses action on the fly, rapid MDMP, you should say, that kind of helped me throughout my career. It's like, hey, get to yes, fast but efficient. It has really been my motto, fast and efficient.
Let's expand a little bit. Were there times where real-world conditions made you wish PME had gone even deeper in preparing you?
Oh, man. Certain things that, even the basic course or even, crossing over at the candidate school doesn't really teach you how to work with staff. You kind of pick it up when you're in NCO because, you have troops and you're doing professional development with your soldiers, but dealing with other staff members. If I had known in school how I fit into that piece of the pie, I think it would have made my transition to warrant officer a little bit better, and for deployment, knowing where I sat as a staff section, right? At a certain point, you become a staff member, right? You're not thinking that as a soldier because you're just a doer, right? Now I'm part of the staff section, and these people rely on me for this, and I rely on them for that. So if we had expounded more on the relationships, I think that would have helped me more. Not that I couldn't pick it up because, hey, high speed, let's get it in. We got to figure it out. But I think it would have helped me and prepared me more with dealing with staff section, higher echelons, so forth and so on, because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Now, you didn't just consume PME. You also helped shape it as an instructor at the AG school. What did standing at the front of the classroom teach you about what makes PME effective? And what did you learn from the students that you didn't expect?
Wow, let me tell you, your students can be your harshest critics, right? You get that in the course critique, and you be like, geez, what is happening right now? But to be honest, it was them telling us what we needed to do better for the course, right? The way we were deploying, how our systems were, the new things coming online were outpacing what we were actually teaching in POI. So me and the instructors were like, look, hey, this is archaic at some point, right? What do they need to know now for them to be successful going into their brigades, their divisions, their corps? Because, I did the basic course, the advanced course, Brigade S1, plans and ops. So out of all those courses, because if you don't teach POI, that messes with your accreditation, right? So how can we offset that? So we had to find inventive ways to do that until the reg or the POI could catch up. So for me, it's teaching relevant information to them so they can be successful going into their respective or prospective organizations.
Additionally, how did that teaching experience deepen your own leadership and mentoring style?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I call it almost being like a mini drill instructor or drill sergeant. You're their mom, their dad, their therapist, their doctor. You're all these things, and everybody is unique. Everybody have their own problem sets. So how my leadership style changes is really based on the student, right? You can't have a one-size-fits-all. You're fair when it comes to grading, this, that, whatever. There's a rubric for that. But not every student is the same. So you had to tailor your response or how you dealt with that student to help them learn by the type of individual they are. So, hey, I need to adjust because this person learns this way. Hey, this person is a visual learner, so, hey, maybe we need to incorporate more of this in the POI. Or, hey, do exercises to make them understand. Or maybe give them a battle buddy that's on the same level that can help them learn and get past this quiz, test, or exercise.
Across your PME journey, from basic to advanced to intermediate and senior levels, was there a particular course, instructor, or leadership moment that shifted your thinking from being a technical expert to becoming a true operational and strategic advisor?
I would say for me becoming a strategic advisor, the most, I start touching on it around my advanced and intermediate course. But I would say right around that time frame, I was getting ready to go into a division job. That's when my strategic level brain probably really kicked in the most because, my span of influence is not just there in the division. Now I'm reaching down to brigades and battalions and also advising the CG on certain topics, so forth and so on, because our G1 empowered us to do that because we all brought something different to the table. So you want to have that strategic messaging to match that of the CG, right? His philosophy, his focus areas, as you would say, because that's what the chief uses, his focus areas. So it's like, hey, my level of thinking has to change. I can't think at the tactical level. Strategic probably hit me more so between those two, the advanced and intermediate level courses, helped me and established me, but by the time I got to the staff courses, I was already thinking that way.
As your career progressed into positions like strength manager, policy integrator, and now your current role alongside the CSA, how well did PME prepare you for leading at those broader levels? Where do you think PME really gave you the edge, and what were some areas you had to grow into on your own?
Oh, man. For me, being the policy integrator, coming to this building, let's just say it that way, coming to the Pentagon, I really had to change my focus because how the Army runs, that course they have, pay attention to it because I had no clue about some stuff. And I was an instructor, so the policy integrator piece is basically dealing with warrant officer promotions and first lieutenant promotions. And we teach it in the schoolhouse, but we teach wave tops, broad, very strokes, you know what I mean? And being in that room and having to learn how the Army runs, how each senior leader sees different actions and what they expect, oh my goodness, that was a leadership challenge, not and so much so as a personal challenge because I was like, I know this, but I don't know it, so I had to take a step back, get back into the reg because now I'm not necessarily looking at regs, I'm looking at law. I'm looking at statutes, I'm looking at codes, and it's like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. But once you get it and understand how it all plays into play and how they all coincide with each other, the chief is responsible for this, the secretary is responsible for this, the SecDef is responsible for this, and it just kind of start flowing. It's like, okay, aha moment, I get it.
When you think about the PME experiences that had the most lasting impact, what made them work? Was it the instructors, the peer network, the design of the curriculum? Or was it a combination of things that created a learning environment that really stuck with you?
Oh, my journey per se, or just from different students I've had that came back and told me about their PME journey? Because I can do it from both lenses.
Please, let's do it from both lenses.
Okay, so from my own perspective, my PME journey, I didn't like the fact that some of it was check the box, right? So when I became an instructor, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a check the box thing. So, from restructuring the sentences or making the course more like a college class to where they do more writing, I wanted to make sure it was different from what I went through, right? So for me, crossing over, becoming an instructor, I wanted it to be to where it wasn't a check the box type thing and, everybody passed and everybody's 100 out of 100. I wanted you to work for your grade, right? So that's me personally. For the students that I taught or came to me afterwards or after I left being an instructor, some of the things they said, which is what we tried to do when we were instructors, to change, is that the curriculum is slow, right? So they really got more out of the peer interaction than they did anything else. So I think that's the whole reason why we're trying to modernize and catch up with how fast the Army is changing. So I do applaud their efforts for trying to get back to that.
Now, operating at the strategic level, you have a unique lens into the skills and mindsets senior leaders need. How should PME evolve to better prepare future warrant officers to be not only technical experts, but trusted advisors at the enterprise and national levels?
Yes. To be honest, I don't even know if the staff course, and again, we know that there are changes, so I haven't seen the exact curriculum, but at that level where we know we're going to put these seniors and these senior warrant officers or even just senior leaders in period, we need to be focused on just that messaging. Hey, you're coming to this level or enterprise level, so the way you think cannot be tactical. Do I need you to have that experience so you can advise that senior leader? Absolutely. But you have to start thinking 2 or 3 levels up. And here, being in the Pentagon, the politicians and the diplomacy gets a vote. Right? So how we write, how we message, are we speaking the same language as a service? That becomes very important. And I don't think the staff course, or our senior staff course, really teaches that, right? They teach you this is what it is, this is how it is, but how you fit into that place as an advisor is really where we probably need to hone that in. It's like, hey, the way we write. Hey, if you're at this enterprise level, then these are the things you need to do. I think that needs to be trickled in there somewhere because I think, again, like we say, you don't want to teach everything because it's a learning experience. But the broad strokes sometimes can hinder somebody that actually has to step into that job.
Amid all the modernization efforts, there are certainly things that have stood the test of time. If you could preserve one part of your PME experience because it was truly that effective, what would it be and why?
Oh, for me, to be honest, it was the peer interaction. Once I found out, and I don't know how other people feel, and I can tell you what I tell students as I was coming through, your peer interaction to find out who's going to this brigade and what type of unit it is. Are they MI, or are they, AG, or are they field artillery? These people will help you when you become in these senior level roles. Even if you're going to your tactical role, oh man, I met that person in the basic course. Oh, hey, I met that person in the staff course, right? And then when you have a problem set, you know who to contact. So your networking that you do with those peer interactions, don't change it. You know what I mean? I know we want to be focused and we want to make sure we're keeping up with the times, but the peer interaction where and I would say like practical exercises, right? We had this one thing where I did a sand table and you had to explain the casualty flow. You had to work with the other people within your group, and that's how you get to know people. Right? What's their strong suit? What's your weakness? What's their weakness? What's your strength? All that stuff comes out, and now you just build you a network of different people that can help you grow. So I hope they keep that aspect of the course to where you do the practical exercises, the group interactions, and to be honest, even some of the argumentative essays and the info papers and even just doing the public speaking, right? Because now you get to know who you're around. I think they should definitely keep that in the course.
Yeah, that sand table was pretty outstanding. I remember doing that at the Human Resources Management Qualification course.
Yep. I love it. I love it. You know, I set my little tent cards out and I just let them go, right? And then you just see, like, especially if you want somebody to come to the schoolhouse because they're really good at it, you're like, hey, I might need to bring this person up. That might be my next instructor. But the way they visualize the sand table is amazing to watch them go. And, you know, you're not trying to correct too much because you want them to try to figure it out. You know, but I think they get the most out of that than you trying to give them a test.
All right, last question. If you could offer one piece of advice to PME course designers and another to future warrant officers rising through the ranks, what would you want them both to understand about developing leaders for tomorrow's fight?
The tomorrow's fight is now. Let's just start there. You know, the boss is really big on his focus areas, and I hope the developers are going there. I know the CWA talks about it when he goes out, but what I would love for them to do is stick to what's true for the course. I know we want to stick with what's current, but we have to think 2030 and 2040, right? How do we engage leaders has to take a part in these discussions when we're modernizing PME, because the fight that you're trying to do today is not the one that's going to be for tomorrow, right? So you're almost in a little gray area, but we just want to get current. We're doing stuff that was back in coin, you know what I mean, and probably before that. So how do we get out that era? So if it's anything that I could tell the developer is make sure we're staying ready, that we're focusing on the current fight and thinking to 2030 and beyond. For my warrant officers coming in, let's not be narrow focused. Understanding how we fit and have a seat at the table is key, because if you don't, you will get passed over, because leaders now need solutions, not problems. If you have a problem set that needs to be made, brought to their attention, how are we going to fix it? Not just bring a problem, but how do we fix it? What's the solution? And what I find with this new generation, they want it given to them. They don't want to work for it, right? And when you find those that do want to work for it, you're trying to grab them. You're trying to grab them, and we're wearing them out, right? And we're not cultivating them, and we're not nurturing and growing them like we should. So I want the next generation to be that's me for sure and have a seat at the table.
Chief Hilliard, this has been a masterclass in leadership, resilience, and the power of professional growth. Thank you for sharing your story, your lessons, and your vision for how PME can evolve while staying true to what makes our warrant officer cohort so strong.
Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully I was able to provide a little input into this topic. Lastly, I want to say to everyone out there on the net, just stay ready. We have this acronym we use here in the office of the chief, Ready Army. Ready meaning respect, be an expert, have Army standards and discipline, be down and in, and why your initiative. Also, being great athletes, being reliable, having a reliable flow of information, be a mentor and develop your soldiers, and lastly, your time is always valuable. So keep that in mind when we're out here as leaders, as soldiers, as warrant officers. Hey, be ready, be a ready Army. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Cohort W, where the conversation about the future of warrant officer leadership and education never stops. Until next time, stay ready, stay focused, and always keep leading from the front.